Hey everybody, Mike from Wrestling Then and Now. Thanks so much for checking out the YouTube channel. Make sure you click subscribe. I have a ton of stuff coming up. Now I wanted to put this clip in, all my Reno Riggins clips, because since we recorded, my good friend Reno Riggins has just informed me that he now has an exclusive action figure. You can order it now. You can pre-order it now. If anyone deserves an action figure, it's Reno Riggins. What a great guy. What a hard worker. What a great worker. So please support our friend Reno Riggins. You can go to ShamTheMan73. That's SHAM, the man 73 at gmail.com for all the information. Again, it's ShamTheMan73 at gmail.com. For this pre-order, it's until February 11th to pre-order your Reno Riggins action figure. Reach out, support one of the good guys in wrestling.
I had great trips when I worked in Memphis, wrestling, traveling with Dutch Mantel. Did you ever spend any time around him or get to meet him much? Or
It's plenty of times, yeah.
Yeah. Great guy, great on a road trip because he has so many stories and anecdotes, and he's a very intelligent guy, always current on world events. And he was a guy that I always enjoyed traveling with because he could talk worldly things and not just wrestling. Right. Sometimes when you're on a loop, or especially when I worked in Memphis, because that's a pretty tough grind. And getting in a car with somebody that all they could do was talk wrestling gets old pretty quick, especially when you're doing it every night, And, but I mean, we would talk, music, acting, politics, health. I mean, all sorts of stuff. We'd talk, then, occasionally he'd tell us about an old wrestling story. And that was always, for the younger guys in the car, that was always really pleasurable. I mean, you see folks now watching these shows like the Dark Side of the Ring and the Tales from the Territories and those documentary type. I was getting that on road trips with Dutch, and right. Building, because a lot of those guys were in this here in Tennessee in the Mid-South area for such a long time. So that was always really good. And I always liked and respected Bill and Dutch tremendously because they were, I feel like both those guys gave back to the younger guys in the business during my time that I was there in Memphis.
What years were you there in Memphis?
Off and on. I was hitting it off and on. It wasn't there a long time. Probably still like early 90s.
So was it still a full-blown territory?
Yeah. I mean, so Monday nights was always, of course, the Mid-South Coliseum. Tuesday nights was the Louisville Gardens in Louisville, Kentucky. Wednesday nights would be Evansville, Indiana. And then Thursday and Friday nights were generally spot shows. Friday nights, more than likely, was going to be Jonesboro, Arkansas, down back towards Memphis, because early Saturday morning, we were at the television station doing live Memphis television. And then after the live TV on Saturday mornings, on Saturday mornings, we did live TV there in Memphis. Saturday nights, we drove back to Nashville to do the Fairground Sports Arena, and Sundays were either going to be off or a spot show, and then Monday back at the Mid-South Coliseum. So, yeah, it was a full loop there. I mean, it was a lot of driving and a lot of storytelling and a lot of developing. I was fortunate enough; I got to go to Memphis one stint, a second stint there, and work with Brian Christopher. And Brian and I, we were not friends outside the wrestling ring. I wanted to kind of keep our relationship a bit of a distance because we were business. And I looked at him as a business partner at that point, because here I am, I'm trying to get better. Of course, he's trying to get better. And I felt like after I'd worked with him that first time, sometimes you get in the ring and you work with a guy and you just have that it factor. you have that chemistry. It's like when you get a good two guys sitting down with guitars, or two musicians, and they can feed off one another and develop, great music. But it was that way with Brian. And I knew, if I'm going to be on a card, that's who I want to work with, because I can get better with that guy, versus if I can do that with other guys that are in different phases of their career, and different phases of their career, and be able to do what we were trying to do. So we always, and we were kind of the uh, put the time in the matches. They would say, hey, we need you guys to go about 40 minutes tonight. Well, Brian would try to have us go an hour. I mean, it was like that, and I enjoyed every minute of it. It was, at times it was difficult, but I always respected Brian's in-ring ability, and respected him as a person, and admired his talent.
Yeah, I always found Brian very hard to deal with. I'll just say it. I'm not going to candy coat it. I found Brian, and so did a lot of people, but I can only speak for myself, extremely hard to deal with. But like you said, inside the ring, the guy was a great worker.
Well, we kind of had that talk, at the very beginning of our relationship, and I said, this is where we are, this is where I think we can get to, and this is where I want us to end up at. And I says, outside the ring, I says, we don't have to be the best of friends or the best of buddies, but I said, it's a business decision that both of us have to commit to if we're trying to get here, and we in the ring, I felt like we got to those levels, because it was some of the best matches that I'd ever worked with.